Hey guys, welcome to another Iron Mike FAI GT Sports stream. Today we're at Maggiore Grand Prix with the Group 4. I think they're Group 4 cars, I can't remember. But I selected, after going over a number of cars, I decided to go with the Megane. Originally I was looking at going with the Porsche Cayman. Seemed good with fuel and speed, but after doing a few lobbies, I noticed the Megane was actually quite strong on this track, which did surprise me a bit. The fuel wasn't as much, but and top end speed isn't as great. So there's me in third position. Yeah, and so I'd done a number of lobbies and practices and built myself up a bit of confidence, which usually leads to quite a bit of nervousness. I've mentioned that in other streams before. I do get quite nervous, so just before the race I'll just step outside and stretch my legs and remind myself there's a number of races, and just try and treat it like another lobby race. Yeah, so, and you can see there's other Meganes. There's quite a mixture of cars, which makes it interesting. So during the qualifying, my plan really was to just hop out on track as soon as I can and go really slow and just fuel burn and let everyone get ahead and just get some clean air for myself, and then lay down. And while I'm burning fuel, they'll be going around putting down some times, and just keep an eye on those times. So I think at the time it was probably 2 minutes and 8, and I thought, well, I can do a 2 minute and 7, so I thought I'll give it my best shot. So here we go, third place, getting ready to start. Brake balance right to the back, and just for my nerves, putting traction control 2 on just for the beginning, just in case something silly happens. Fuel me 6 for now during this part. I don't know if it does too much, but I do it anyway, and just pray for the very first corner everything goes okay. So I've got Brett. He qualified with a 2 minute and 6. He seems to be running quite well. And then I've got a mate who was in my last race, you may have seen, at Red Bull. Magic's here. So I've just collected a bit of a car in that corner and got myself a 1 second penalty. And luckily for me, I don't have to serve it now. So I've got a whole lap to pay that penalty. I just had to get away from the guys behind me as best I can. So each corner, even this one, I know they're quite close. I was always worried about the dive bomb. And again, with the nerves, just trying to tell myself, just, you know, stick to what you know. Try and get your gears right and just keep it smooth. So starting on soft. So this race is a soft, medium, hard race, but you only have to put hards on. That's the only compulsory tyre. So my strategy today is softs first, of course. Try to be a bit careful with fuel, but mainly be careful with the tyres, because I'll be taking them up to lap 7, which is quite a bit. And then on lap 7 pit, top up with a bit of fuel and put hards on, and from lap 8 through to the finish, lap 12, and hopefully things will pan out okay. Each time I do a race in a lobby or just do a run on my own, my times were pretty consistent, so I felt like I had it down pat. It's not like I was all over the place. So as you can see, I've still got the 1 second penalty, and I've got a 2.6 second gap behind me, which is looking good. You know, I was happy with that. I was worried I'd be paying the penalty and just getting swallowed up by everyone. The two guys in front, Brett and Magic's here, just felt like they were just pulling away a touch. So I just had to just make sure I'm keeping in touch with them and not letting those two get away. So this is the big reminder for me of my penalty is going to be coming up, and I've got 3.1, so the gap behind me is looking good, and I can only guess it's because the people behind are just fighting to get ahead. So that's it, my penalty's paid. Just keep an eye on my rear view, make sure they're not jumping down my throat. And it looks like I got away with that, so that was good. And split time from, well, now it's Sniper Wolf, he's down to 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, so it still looks like I'm getting away. So now it's time to start focusing on the guys in front. Being very mindful of my tyres. My tyres were more important than my fuel. So I had about 7.6 laps of 7.6, about 7.5 to 8.5 laps of fuel in the tank. So I knew I could go to lap 7, and if I had to burn a bit of fuel, I could. So that wasn't really the main concern. It was again the tyres. Just getting it a little bit messy on the occasion, and just keeping an eye on that split time. And maybe it was there, I felt like I made a bit of a mistake, and yet I'm still pulling away from the people behind me. And the further I get away from them, the more confidence it was giving me. Now I'm just noticing the guys in front are starting to pull away from me. And I do think they're both on softs as well. But there's quite a mixed bag of cars in this race. And I just felt like the Megane handled their tyres better than any other car. So you can see here, this is good for me, like they're side by side. And funny enough, Magic's here. I knew he was in the race, but once the race started, and I was focusing on the two cars in front and trying, to get ready to pounce. Totally forgot it was him. And if he was close enough, I could have, not dive bombed, but, jump on the inside to attack, forgetting that it's Magic's here. Now, it looks like he's got in front now. So it seems like Brett is beginning to struggle with his tyres. The split time behind me, which is Dead Man Running, that's 4.5 seconds. So again, it's just, there must be a crowd of cars behind that are just battling each other to be in, fourth place, and just slowing everyone down. So I'm catching up with Brett. I think his tyres are wearing, even though he's only about to complete lap 3, so that's not looking too good for him. But also Magic's here. I feel like I'm catching him as well. So there may be some concern that they've just spent all their energy. Oh, here we go. So I was able to get a tighter line, having a lighter car, trying to make a run up the inside, but looks like his top end speed's too good. Oh, and Brett outbrakes himself. I actually got a touch wide, but no harm done. But he goes a little bit too wide. So luckily I was able to get past clean, and now it's Magic's here. And at this point I'm thinking, right mate, let's just work as a team and let's move ahead. And he just goes out a bit wide, loses a bit of speed, and then pulls in, realises who it is behind him, put the hazards on for him to say thank you. And at this point I'm thinking, hopefully I can keep a good pace for him, but looks like I'm just pulling away. I I could not believe this moment. I'm thinking it's an FAI race and I'm in front. It's not every day this happens. I'm trying to keep a nice, neat line in this part. Got to get it nice and neat, get a good run out of here. Keep that top end speed up. So Magic's here is still within arm's distance of me. That I was still mindful of. And what tyres were they running at the time I wasn't sure, so maybe it could be hard. So I did say I think they were both on softs, but when I was racing I thought maybe they're on hards, and the joke's going to be on me a bit later in the race when I go to put on hards and they'll be on softs. So as long as I look after my tyres, I just knew I had to push. And you can see Magic's here. He's still in my slipstream. I was mindful of that. You watch this. Come around this corner. Nice and neat and tight around the corner. And he's falling behind. Oh, he's pitted. Couldn't believe it. This is lap 5 and he's pitting. So I've got a healthy gap behind me now. Dead man running 5.8 seconds, 5.96. Yeah, didn't want to party too soon, but I thought to myself, this is a really healthy lead, and I'm really confident in my strategy. Lap 7. Drop the softs off and put the hards on. It's around here I just start getting a little bit slidey. And just watching the time, watch my brake points. Anytime I just make a little tiny mistake, I just look at the time. So it's coming down a touch, and that's my concern every time I have a new driver come up behind you. So I did have Magic's here, now I've got Dead Man running, and every time that happens there's a change. I'm always concerned that they're a faster driver and they'll be catching up. So if I could maintain that gap, I'd be happy, and if I can increase that gap, I'd be over the moon. There were a few McGanns, but not too many. And what strategy they were running, I wasn't sure. But every other car I felt like I had the upper hand. So 6.3 now, 6.4. I just couldn't believe it. It's like it's going up. And if anyone was to ever ask why do I keep saying I'm at a loss, or I can't believe it, it's because maybe my confidence against other people isn't that great. I think I would be a really excellent C driver, but now I'm in B, and I've been in B for a while. It is quite competitive. And I would say I average maybe between 4th and 8th, I would say. So to be in first place is a rarity for me. So I mean, even now I'm 9 seconds ahead, and it's like, oh my god, what is going on? So considering I have to pit, looks like I haven't even looked at my fuel, and that's also because really I'm focusing on my tyres, and my fuel is, I'll worry about that when it's time to pit. 10 seconds gap. And I think it was lap 6, I thought, well, I've got a hell of a gap. I could pit on lap 6 because I had a gut feeling that if I went to lap 7, because they are really worn, look at my front left, I was worried that I would just go off track and spin out, blow an engine, and just lose everything. So I was thinking about going to pit now, but I was watching my split time and it continued to increase, and I just thought, I'm going for it. I'm going to continue on. The other concern I had in this race was, like I said, I had been practicing during the week, doing lobbies, and maybe 3 times during the week my steering wheel died on me. The calibration seemed to let go. And if anyone recalls having a look at my, I think it was manufacturers at Tokyo, about 2 weeks ago, it happened to me in the race where I just lost the steering. The calibration was out. And so during the week in lobbies, it happened to me. And I thought to myself, I better open up my wheel and have a look at it. And I was going to the night before this race, and then I just pulled out, and I thought, well, before the race I'll just turn my wheel off and back on and make it just do its own little calibration. And so that was still in the back of my mind, that I could be in first place, running really well, 20 seconds ahead. I'm yet to pit though. Magix here has pitted. I would imagine Brett has. But yeah, that was the wheel dying during this race was my big concern. So sticking to my strategy, this is lap 7 now, so this is my in lap. I just get the feeling I was just taking a touch easy here. You know, I am 20 seconds ahead. So I'll be pulling in, putting on hards, and topping up with fuel. So Magix here was about 20 seconds behind, and I'm just filling up with fuel now, and it gets pretty close. So pull out, and he's about 5 seconds behind. So he's made up a lot of ground, although I knew he had pitted a lap or 2 before. So I still have the upper hand, and I know it's Magix here will treat each other well if he was to catch up. But at the moment I had the upper hand. Just treading carefully because it's hards now. I could lose grip at any time, so just sort of easing my way into it, getting a feel for it, just warming those tyres up. So of course my traction control is off. I only had it on for maybe the first few corners of this race. My traction control went off. My brake balance was +5 right at the back for the soft tyres, and it seems comfortable enough to leave it with the hards as well. So looking at the map, top right, you can see Magic's here is, what's he, 3.7, see, he's catching a bit, 3.6 seconds behind me, and then there's a healthy gap, so even he'd be quite happy with where we're sitting. And that split time gap between Magic's here and myself, that seems to have grown a bit. And I saw that as either just driver error or his tyres are starting to tire. Bad choice of words, I should have said wear. So I've seemed to have done okay this season. I don't really recall any nightmares except for the Tokyo. The Tokyo one was horrible for me. It's a race I'd rather forget. Just had no luck at all with that race. But every other race seems to have been kind to me. And so far, this one's looking really good. So no more pit stops. I've got plenty of fuel to get home. I think it's 4.2 laps remaining, and I've nearly got 3 laps to go. So I've got an extra lap of fuel up my sleeve. Magic, I was surprised Magic's here is pitting. And I don't think he's pitting to try and undercut me. I'm just a little bit too far ahead for him to achieve that. I think he's pitting to defend his position from people behind him catching up. But that has put Magic's here, what's that, back into 6th place. So now I've got this Marcos FAW. He's in position 2 now, and so 13 seconds is a healthy time. And we've got lap 10. So lap 10. 11, 12, so we've got 2 laps to go. 2 and a bit, 2.5. And I must admit, during the whole race I'd be watching that split time, either getting bigger or getting smaller. And this Marcos FAU, I don't know this guy, so I don't know how good he is. So I just made sure I kept pushing. But again, you have a look at the map top right, as a hell of a gap between myself and 2nd place. So that time is coming down, 12.8, 12.7, 6. So I can only assume people have pitted and put softs on. They got fresh softs. And if you look at my hards, remember my brake balance is at +5 at the rears, but my hards, the fronts are still showing majority of wear, but it's not a hell of a lot. So I'm still looking good. 3 laps of fuel remaining and 2 laps to go. Just watching that time come down. So knowing I had an extra lap of fuel, I knew I could just push it a little bit further, as much as I needed, without pushing too far. That would cause my wheel to die on me, lose calibration, or to spin off track and lose, 12 seconds. So as much as I've been on my own, there's still been a lot going on, and it was all really about fuel, tyre and time management. So I didn't really need to look after my hards as much as my softs. My softs were the ones that were critical to get to lap 7. I don't think anyone else did 7 laps on their softs. Most other cars wouldn't be able to, I guess, with the weight of their cars. So it's come down to 10 seconds. So I was feeling right around this position. Just one more lap. Don't do anything silly. And my lap times have been respectable. They're not brilliant. 207, 208s, 209s, and then on the hards, 209, 210. And mainly consistent. And I'd attribute that to just no one else being around me. I could just focus as much as I could on my own race. So it looks like Magic's here has made its way back on his fresh softs up to 3rd. There's still a healthy gap between myself and Marcus FAU. So here I'm just taking a touch easy. Tell you what guys, today in this race, today was pretty warm, and I usually have windows open and let a cool breeze go through. I had windows open but there wasn't much breeze and I was sweating. I was just stuck in my seat, just focusing. And I was just thinking, I have won an FAI in this car. I've won an FAI race before in the Megane at Sedegna, and here we go again. So I wonder whether or not I'll be picking Renault for next season's manufacturers. She can't win every race, but she runs pretty well. So hazard lights on now. It's party time for me. I just couldn't believe at 9.2 seconds I have kicked their ass. Just want to say that the whole group, I have kicked their ass for a win. Yeah, coming home strong. And that red dot, the penalty was on lap 1. Oh. So the victory presentation, up 2 places and 70 points. It's the highest points for this season. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I look forward to seeing your streams, and see you in the next one.